Turkey's ruling AK party secures a majority in elections as Prime Minister Davutoglu describes it as a win for democracy. The investigation of the Russian airliner crash continues in Egypt as the bodies of more than 140 of those killed have been flown back. And Haitians visit cemeteries on Sunday to spend time with their deceased loved ones during Day of the Dead celebrations. Hello, you're watching I-24 News. I'm David Matlin here in the Jaffa Port of Israel. Well, Prime Minister Ahmed Davutoglu called on Turkey's political parties to come together and agree to a new constitution after his ruling AK party regained its parliamentary majority in Sunday's general election. Turkey's Islamist-rooted AK party swept to an unexpected victory in elections on Sunday, returning the country to single-party rule, an outcome sure to boost the power of President Tayyip Erdogan, but may sharpen social divisions.
I'm calling on all parties entering Parliament to form a new civilian national constitution for the sake of a reliable electoral system. Let's work together for a civilian liberal constitution and change the post-coup constitution. We will never sacrifice freedoms for security. We will build the new Turkey together to maintain both freedoms and security. I would like to stress that our citizens' safety and their freedom of expression, as well as their freedom of belief, is under our protection. After today's results, we will not give up from the peace process and from the fight against terrorism.
And now we're joined by Laura Wells, I-24 News contributor from Istanbul. Laura, good to have you back with us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it seems like a big win for the AK party and President Erdogan in particular here. Now, they want to amend the constitution. Can they?
Well, it looks like they can. They're probably going to have 316 seats. They'll need 330 seats to do that. But they can easily borrow from another party. I think in this case, it will probably be the ultranationalist MHP, which has more than enough to spare. I think around 40 is what we're expecting for them to have. And they have actually lost ground, so they might be looking for the protection of a stronger party at this point. And on many things, they do agree. Many people do also criticize the current constitution that was created during a coup. It's the one that says that, for instance, you can't insult the religious beliefs of a majority of the people, or you cannot insult the president, or even Ataturk, the founder of the nation. And that's what's being currently used by a lot of prosecutors now to get people to court, and sometimes even with jail sentences for insulting President Erdogan. But he himself does press these lawsuits and has his own lawyers that do the same.
Well, Laura, what's in store for the Kurds now that their party has emerged as pretty much the big loser here in these elections?
It's anyone's guess. The fact that HDP did meet that 10% threshold was very positive for the future of that party and also for Kurds in general. And I think that the Kurds I'm hearing from are at least glad that that did happen. When it comes to PKK, I don't think that that's going to, the strife can continue exactly as it has, but where it will go exactly in the near future, I'm not sure. If you were to look at what happened with HDP, first time it ever ran as a party, it got 13%, this time 11%. They didn't campaign because of the attacks on mainly Kurdish groups by ISIS. They did fairly. I do think the PKK did hurt them, and some Kurds, it seems, did start voting for AKP again and did leave HDP.
Well, thank you very much, Laura Wells, reporting to us from Istanbul. Well, yesterday, Turks went to the polls for the snap elections that we've just spoken about that were overshadowed by a recent surge of violence in southeast Turkey. Turkish police fired water cannons against protesters in the mainly Kurdish city of Diyarbakir on Sunday after an election that saw President Tayyip Erdogan's hold on the country tightened and the main pro-Kurdish party almost voted out of parliament. And we move on now as the bodies of more than 140 of those killed in Saturday's air crash in Egypt have been flown back to St. Petersburg as an investigation into the cause continues. The country observed a day of mourning on Sunday after its worst air disaster. Grieving Russians piled flowers high at St. Petersburg airport. Well, meanwhile, the head of a Russian aviation agency said that the fact that fragments of the plane were scattered over a wide area suggests that the jet broke up in the air at a great altitude.
The site of the crash occupies a very large territory, more than 20 square kilometers. More generally, the zone where the fragments of plane are scattered has a shape of a stretched ellipse about 8 kilometers long and about 4 kilometers wide. All the signs show that the plane broke up in the air on a great altitude.
Well, the U.S. and South Korean defense chiefs urged North Korea on Monday to immediately cease all activities related to its nuclear program and said they'll have no tolerance for any military provocation by Pyongyang. U.S. Defense Secretary Ash Carter and his South Korean counterpart also expressed, quote-unquote, grave concern over the North's intent to conduct a long-range missile launch and a nuclear test.
Both are stark reminders that North Korea is an up-close, dangerous, and continuing threat to the security of the peninsula and the region. But together, we will meet that threat.
Well, Chinese Premier Li Keqiang said that China, Japan, and South Korea should expand trade and tap mutual investment potential to promote growth. The proposal came as Li addressed the China-Japan-South Korea Business Summit hours after he met with South Korean President Park Geun-hye and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in the widely watched trilateral summit that had resumed after a 3.5-year break. China is the largest trading partner for Japan and South Korea. And the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, Paul Ryan, ruled out working with President Barack Obama on overhauling U.S. immigration policy. In an interview aired today on NBC's Meet the Press, Ryan said he would not pursue legislation on immigration because Obama took unilateral steps that bypassed Congress to try to shield millions of illegal immigrants from deportation.
The president has proven himself untrustworthy on this issue because he tried to unilaterally rewrite the law himself. Presidents don't write laws, Congress does. The president's proven himself to be untrustworthy on this issue. I think if we reach consensus on something like border enforcement, interior security, that's one thing. But I do not believe we should advance comprehensive immigration legislation with a president who has proven himself untrustworthy on this issue.
And Fred Thompson, a former Republican U.S. Senator from Tennessee who bridged the world of politics and entertainment with a prolific television and film acting career, died of cancer on Sunday at age 73. The actor-politician who first made a name for himself in Washington as a Watergate investigator was in hospice care at the time of his death. Thompson was elected to the Senate in 1994 and served for 2 terms before retiring in 2003. And Stanley Biwott and Mary Keitany ran to a Kenyan sweep of the New York City Marathon on Sunday. Biwott took command by the 23rd mile and pulled away from his biggest challenger, a fellow Kenyan, to claim the most important win of his career. Well, 4th in London earlier this year, he won at a time of 2 hours, 10 minutes, and 34 seconds. For the women, Keitany surged to the front for good shortly after 18 miles and triumphed in a time of 2 hours, 24 minutes, and 25 seconds. And fans of the Boca Juniors came out in droves late Sunday in downtown Buenos Aires to celebrate their team's latest championship. Well, the Boca Juniors won the Argentine First Division Championship with a match to spare when they beat Tigre 1-0. Well, Boca, inspired by Carlos Tevez since the Argentina strikers returned to the club from Europe in mid-year, succeed Racing Club as champions. And Haitians congregated on Port-au-Prince's National Cemetery Sunday to spend time with their deceased loved ones and remember them during Day of the Dead celebrations. Well, on November 1st and 2nd, Haitians make annual visits to cemeteries throughout the country to pay tribute to the spirits and honor the God of the dead. The faithful mark All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day with voodoo worship and by offering coffee and fruit to deceased loved ones.
A people that ignores its culture is a people that has to face a lot of problems that will emerge as a result. And so I invite all of those who believe in their country's culture to come out and honor this day. As you know, there are so few left that are very important to us. So this is a special moment to come and share in. You can pour a little bit of coffee for them, for the dead. Talk to them since. This is a custom that we grew up with and saw our grandparents doing it, and that's why we shouldn't ignore it.
That's all for the top stories here this hour. I'm David Matlin in the Jaffa Port of Israel. We'll be right back after a short break with more from the Morning Edition and Yella V.